Going, and I think we're live. Okay, good morning, everyone. It is wonderful June day, nice and sunny out there, the 16th of 2018. And we're going to go over we're going to go over as many games as we can in order of E3 2018 as we can. And with always, it's my compatriot here in the gaming and writing world of, well, was this live streaming? What do we call this? Our sessions, Mr. UDP.
Unwilling person, I think we can call me.
Who knows what we're going to say about all the wonderful games of the last week? It's been kind of wild, especially with the World Cup just starting up as well on Thursday. A lot of news feeds are getting just butchered with news and ideas and exciting things going on. So yeah, for the gaming world, we had our wonderful giant press conference shindig of, well, it's not even a press conference, is it? It's more like a sales pitch to investors and to gamers alike, minus some gameplay trailers that obviously should have been there. So hopefully it was good for a lot of people. I had a lot of fun watching the trailers. I'm around people all the time, whether it's in my personal or private life, that see these things and they talk to me about them. So lots of mixed opinions, lots of mixed feelings about the good and the bad. So we're going to go down the list, I think in order, and we could be wrong. We're obviously going to miss a few because there's been so many and they don't get the limelight as they should. But we will hit all the popular ones, which I'm sure you guys want to know about. So Sony, I believe, was the first day to do their thing. And the big news from that was The Last of Us 2, also referred to as the lesbian of us, or the last of the lesbians. that was a surprise.
I've never really been a fan of The Last of Us, really, though, because I kind of watched the first one, like a playthrough of it. It's kind of like, yeah, it's all right, you know.
It was interesting. I was expecting some sort of Metal Gear Solid pregnancy options where you're sort of like, stealthily crawling on your back or something, like something along the lines of, is she actually going to perform like Joel and take down guys? No, she brutally kills people. She is Joel essentially, which makes zero sense. I don't know how a girl grows up after a few years and has the skills and ability to just murder people and hide in the grass and do all these maneuvers. I mean, it was awesome to watch. So you got a combination of gameplay, you got a combination of the cutscene cinematics, and of course the dancing, and who knows what's going on in that world. I never actually got into it. I have a buddy of mine who loved the game. He thought it was great. It was brilliant gameplay, story-wise, puzzles. Things worked for that game. So obviously a lot of people loved it as well. But yeah, I mean, in terms of quality, it's got a lot of polish. So you're not going to go wrong with that sort of experience. But I'm very curious about her being pregnant and how that works with gameplay. It's just, I was looking for something. That would be interesting. How would you do playing as a pregnant young woman? I don't know.
I mean, is this going to be like a time lapse over thing, or because obviously, are they actually going to integrate it into the health system? Like the more damage you suffer, the more chances of problems arising.
That'd be interesting. That would be a little technical, I think, for what most mothers would not want to consider a health bar for their unborn child. Yeah. Jeez. How, like body armor? Like, what would you do? You have like certain, like a sheet of metal over your front, like that. Yeah, that'd be kind of weird. Huh.
Yeah, I mean, if they do like voxel-based damage, like in the old DSX kind of things, that'd be kind of interesting if they went. But I don't think they're going to go down that technical route because of the animations. I reckon you have to like hook it all up to the damage specific areas, and that's just a pain. That's pain in the bum to animate, really. So I don't think they're going to.
It sounds strange. I'm curious what they do with it, but I doubt they're going to have too many pre-motherly stealth combat scenarios. I can't see that working too well or pragmatically. The storyline has to do with her getting revenge on some people. I don't know what or who or why. So we're all up in the air of what the hell is going on in this story. Just lots of classic Last of Us gameplay, which sounds good. Okay. So the next game was Spider-Man. I saw the trailers for gameplay, looked fantastic. Think of it as a souped up Batman Arkham and you're fighting across cityscapes and on tops of skyscrapers. And the funniest things were to watch Spider-Man punch a guy off a skyscraper, and you see this little string sort of attached to him, so he knows that okay, he probably saved his life as he kicked him off a skyscraper. But then you realize that string is like 30 feet or whatever. He's gonna ram his body straight down into the wall of the skyscraper, and he'll be dead. Okay, he's gonna die. So you see all this amazing action, punching and kicking and flying off the skyscraper, and then like pan to the next combat scene. So yeah, Spider-Man kills people. That's pretty much what the story is telling us.
No, he's taking a tactical decision of solving the crime problem, right? What he's doing is he's breaking their pelvis, so he's not killing them. He's just incapacitated them so they can't do anything else anymore. They're no longer a problem to society.
Oh yeah, for the next hour, and then they bleed out and die. Yeah, their internal organs just rupture, and he's dead. Like there's no other thing.
So that was one of my friends played RimWorld, and he wasn't keen on like killing people, so he just harvested their pelvises until they became compliant. It's like, then we were like, that'd be a great way for like Batman to do that. It's like, oh, Joker's got out again. Well, just remove his pelvis and spine. He can't do anything. He's not dead.
In the Arkham games, though, it's very exaggerated. Batman is a beast. The characters you're fighting are all muscle-bound creatures. In the Spider-Man game that they showed, you cross between citizens and the actual goons you fight. They are gigantic. They are just normal-looking people. So if Spider-Man punches a guy, you're going to rupture a few bones. You're going to rupture a few organs. That guy needs to go to the hospital immediately. So if you're launching these guys off skyscrapers and they're flying 30 feet, they're going to die. There's no question about it. So yeah, there's really nothing to say about that game aside from it's going to be another jam-packed of Spider-Man beat 'em up. So the next one is Ghost of Tsushima. This is kind of like how do we describe this? It's kind of like Assassin's Creed in Japan. I think they were calling it Japassin's Creed or things like that. Beautiful looking game. I think this is a studio behind Infamous. I'm not too sure about that, but I saw that the gameplay trailer looked good. Someone had to go rescue a monk, and there was like a betrayal, and lots of what's the actual sword art that the Japanese use. I can't remember the technique, but it's basically you're drawing the sword and it's an immediate kill. So there's lots of that. There's lots of assassins.
Are you talking about Bakken, or is that?
There's a certain technique. I can't remember. It's called drawing the sword, and it's a one motion. It's a one motion kill, and I don't know what it's called, but that's what it felt like in certain scenes. But a lot of it was lots of sword play, and there's actually quite a lot of these style games coming out this year, or sorry, at E3. So I was comparing that to the two. So it looked like a more traditional. It wasn't going over the top. It looked very contemporary. No super mega powers. No launching giant weapons at people. No giants. Nothing like that.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah, and of course the big talk of the Sony talk or the Sony PS4 reveal was Death Stranding. We got a lot more gameplay. We got a lot more. Geez, what do you call Death Stranding video footage? It's just this surrealistic, nightmarish, crazy world full of embryos and babies. And I don't. They had some French chick. I can't remember her name. This blonde woman who was chomping on a baby fetus. I'm like, okay, that's enough for me. I don't think I'm going to put too much interest in this. It's as much as we admire the Metal Gear series for its gameplay, I always say Hideo Kojima must be stopped. And I'm not saying I want to stop him from making games. I just want him to hold them in check when he's being creative, because he really needs to be held back. And it's great that he has his own studio. It's great that he's in charge. And I just wish someone was there to just knock him down a few pegs and say, dude, what in God's blue earth what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, he's good on the conceptualizing, but like people have pointed out that the gameplay pretty much looks like MSG5 in open world. Like the place looks beautiful, don't get me wrong, but it kind of reminds me of like a mix between Metal Gear Solid 5 and Final Fantasy Spirits Within. you know, because you got the invisible monsters, really, if for lack of a better word, really
Right.
is.
Yeah.
And obviously you got the little detectors and things like that. So it's like, you know, the phantoms, but the black instead of the orange glow that they were in that movie. And obviously you're basically a delivery boy,
Yeah.
which is kind of like, okay, I wonder how they're actually going to do that. That's either going to be like really, really exciting if like you can have like, you know, these worlds, like, you know, the world's actually changing as you're walking along through it, or it's just going to be like really dull and boring, like walk over this mountain. Oh, great. Put a ladder down. Oh, you know.
Well, the funny thing was, one of the gameplay trailers, it shows him, like, it explains why he has that backpack or that rig on his back so he puts stuff onto, which looked neat. And one of the trailers, he was walking with a corpse on his back, like a full grown man corpse.
Yeah.
Going up a mountain. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, carrying 220 pounds is not advisable, unless you've got like an exoskeletal rig on you. Like, because if not, then that guy will be suffering major spinal issues and pelvis issues. If we're going back to the pelvis theme.
With physics or metaphysics being what they are in that game, who the hell knows how gravity works? Who the hell knows what they're doing? I mean, it's just such a bizarre, creepy for the sake of it. Like when you have a zoom in of a profile of a beautiful French woman, blonde French woman, and she looks at a baby fetus in her fingers and she starts chomping on it. You're doing that for effect. I mean, you're doing that to rise up the crowd. And I don't know why. Is this a thriller? Is this a spy thriller? Does it make sense if you're in a non-contemporary magical world that there can be espionage and corporatism and all this other stuff? It doesn't wrap around my head. It's as if someone took the plot or the premise of Half-Life 2 and said, okay, let's go even further. Let's go really far with some creepy underground research facility doing crazy crap. Like that's as far as I can understand what's going on. Anyway, enough weird Japanese stuff. There's plenty more weird Japanese stuff to go. Nioh 2, which was kind of like the what is it, Dark Souls meets Japan, or what is it, The Witcher 3 meets Dark Souls. I don't know how else to describe it, but not much of a trailer in terms of gameplay. Obviously, it was all cinematics, but there's another game to talk about. So this was the one that was also competing, I think, with Ghost of Tsushima because of the feeling and the vibe and the style. Like it's very dark. It's very Japanese-ish. Now, one game which surprised me, which I think it felt like a cross between Portal 2 and Silent Hill. It's a game called Control. And I know it wasn't probably very popular or known about, but it has the people who made the Quantic Break stuff. So a lot of time dilation and things floating in air really slowly, and you manipulating gravity and time. It has all those elements, and it looks like a little cleaner. So they learned something from what they made before, which was like a narrative mess at least. But the gameplay, even the gameplay, was a glitchy bug fest, but beautiful to look at. So they sort of narrowed that down. The girl has some sort of revolver, which is, I don't know, I guess another Portal style gun. And it just looks weird, and it's got that creepy vibe. So the trailer they showed was part cinematics, part gameplay. And it just had that, yeah, you know, I'm interested in this. It's enough to make me go, yep, I want to check this game out. My only concern is because it's made by the guys who made Quantic Break, that did not do or look so well or play so well. So, what else was there from Sony? Twin Mirror, the guys who made Life is Strange. This whereas Control was like a Silent Hill meets Portal 2. This is like Silent Hill meets what's that David Cage game? Heavy Rain. That's what it looked like. The voice actor did not feel right to me. It sounded like he was just like, why am I in this game? Why am I being where's my career going? It felt like he was really lost, let alone lost in the game. Like he didn't know what he was talking about. He didn't know how he was acting. It was strange. It made me go, yeah, I'm more interested in the Control game as opposed to the Twin Mirror. So might be off. I don't know. And of course, the next game those guys are coming out with, which I'm surprised they're actually doing it, the Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit. It's this cute little trailer of a kid, and he's enacting all these superhero abilities and powers and toys, and it's like a family story. So it's apparently it's in the same universe as Life is Strange, which, I mean, I don't know how popular Life is Strange is. I know they're doing a sequel. But if a woman can, or a young girl can control time, I guess it's not so hard to believe a little kid suddenly can manipulate reality and toys and his imagination and becomes real in a limited sense. So that, to me, on an idea, sounds fine. Of course, the execution is everything, so we have no idea what it's going to play like exactly. But it is a very creative idea, and that's what I'm always looking for, those sort of weird creative ideas that don't get the attention they deserve, and they might just be a cool idea to play with. So and I think the last thing was the Resident Evil 2 remake. Who really gives a crap? It's just the same thing with more graphics, more shaders, more textures. Whoop-de-doo.
It's similar to Revelations. Really, that's the kind of one that they're going for, to be fair to it.
I stopped caring about Resident Evil 2 when, what was that Squaresoft game that sort of tried to do the same thing back in the day? Parasite Eve came out.
All right, yeah.
So when that came out, I was like, oh, I like Parasite Eve. And then I just did not care about Resident Evil. So, yeah. Just as my taste.
That's right. I mean, I'm looking forward to it, because after that, because it was one of the few trailers that actually showed like 18 minutes of actual gameplay.
Really?
It's like, actually, yeah. And it actually goes in, it's more horror. I mean, yeah, it's got the third person Resident Evil 4-ish kind of style combat. Actually, no, sorry, scratch that. Because Resident Evil 4 shooting mechanics were a laser pointer. This one has a cone of fire, so it's going to be a bit of a thing for some people. But, you know, they're going for more of the survival route, so ammunition's quite scarce, and resources and things like that. So yeah, they're trying to keep it. It's basically an updated version of Resident Evil 2, obviously, with some bits added in to keep it fresh, like what was it now, the remake that they did a while back. But obviously, you've got more control over Leon and Claire. So yeah,
cool. That sounds good.
Maybe that's if you're interested. Yeah, because people have been asking for the remake of Resident Evil 2 for years. And I think for people like that, they're going to be absolutely like, thank God, you know, like they've actually got it right. They've got a control scheme that doesn't suck,
right?
And it's fitted in with the survival horror theme in as well.
Yeah, if it wasn't for number 4, I mean, I think the series would have died. So if they were remaking it in 4's control scheme and mechanics, but with new things, like, why not? I can see people buying that.
Yeah, it's definitely a love letter to the fans. Hopefully, anyway, that's all aboard the down.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, I don't want to. Like, after many years of like E3s and things like that, I'm a bit wary, especially when people kind of go, "This is gameplay," and it's like, I know you've been down this road before. You know, you're gonna lie to me at some point.
Yeah, pre-rendered video footage as usual. Yeah. All right. So after that, there was the Microsoft showcase. A lot of stuff that a lot of people either don't know or weren't aware of. Like, I was not aware of Black Desert Online. It's another MMO. I think it's from Korea. Yeah, action-oriented medieval magical stuff. I don't care. I'm sure there's been so many MMOs over the years. I mean, do we need more? I guess always to compete with the big ones. And if it's action oriented and it's Korean, the Koreans know their online games. So maybe it might be fun. I don't care. I'm not going to cover it. So whatever. We Happy Few. And if you don't know, We Happy Few was originally a Kickstarter project that took off. Kind of hard to describe. It's like you're hiding in plain sight in this weird sort of not a 1984 style world, but instead of it being about war, it's about drugs and making sure everyone's happy and playing along.
Yeah, because it's a society that's done something unfathomably abhorrent, that they basically have to take drugs to basically make sure that they forget about what they've done to survive.
Yeah, you know, this game, I could have sworn it came out already. This has been such a long time coming. I don't know why
It's
it's
been like delayed many times as well. That's the weird thing.
It doesn't make sense. The Kickstarter was, when I saw the Kickstarter, I thought, oh, this is going to be a cute little indie game, but it's just not the thing I'm interested in. And then it just kept getting bigger and bigger. I'm like, why is this taking so long to come out? So unless they've redone the game 3 times over and scope creep is real, and they got a new funder or a new producer, I can't see why this is so huge. But they say it's narrative driven, so who knows? Maybe they've added stories, they've added quest lines. I couldn't tell you, but I'm just surprised it's still going strong or still going on this long. But I don't have high hopes for it personally. Cuphead, we'll see. I'm not a Cuphead fan. I was impressed with the visuals, but shmups are not my thing. They just, I mean, I like the old school shmups. I think it was Tyrion back in the day, back in the 90s. But nothing's really impressed me since. So, yeah, nothing to say. And of course, the big spiel, the big spunk, big talk about is whenever CD Projekt Red moves, everyone moves with them. And that is, of course, Cyberpunk 2077. And the funniest thing about Cyberpunk 2077 is there's no gameplay, at least from the trailer. There was some gameplay footage, of course, released later, but the trailer itself was all cinematics. And wow, beautiful stuff. Absolutely fantastic. Looked great. Beautiful music, beautiful visuals. And the funniest thing was William Gibson, who's, of course, one of the creators of, not the creators, but the landmark Cyberpunk story writer of Neuromancer in 1984, said, what did he say on Twitter exactly? I think it was something along the lines of, the trailer is like a mix of a GTA skin with the generic 80s retro vibe or something like that. And you're talking about William Gibson. Now, if you don't know William Gibson's books or his stories, he took Cyberpunk pretty far. I mean, it's still, when you look at Cyberpunk 2027 trailer, you compare it to him, it's pretty run down. It's pretty generic. Whereas Gibson will have like all these AIs running around and you're going into space and you're doing all these crazy stuff in space. So when obviously, you know, his imagination is a bit further stretched in the genre. So I replied to that. I was like, come on, dude, this is, let Cyberpunk 2077 be exactly what it's supposed to be, whatever the hell it's supposed to be. And let CD Projekt Red polish the crap out of it. They have lots of time. They've been doing it for at least 5 years now.
Yeah, they've had to like restart it at least 2 or 3 times already because they weren't sure on how they were going to do certain things.
That's scary, but you know, these are the guys who do. They push the benchmark, so you got to give it to them. They're kind of like Michelangelo in that effect. It's like it'll be done when it's done. And everyone was clamoring for a trailer. We got one. We're satiated. At least I am. So yeah, we'll just give them 10 years. I don't care. They're going to do something with it.
Well, they also showed, was it a 50-minute demo, like, but behind closed doors? I'm just like, but come on, you know?
Yeah.
I don't understand that, because it's okay, they want to get it to the gaming press. Okay, are they just using the press as now just another front in the kind of marketing wars, or is it because it's not indicative of what you know, they're kind of unsure of what's actually going to be actually in the game itself, you know? Because that's, I mean, obviously it's going to try to push the benchmark, as you say, but at the same time I think they're a bit holding back, like they don't want to show off 50 minutes of gameplay and then kind of do a BioWare where they kind of go, yeah, that's gone, that's gone, that's gone, that's gone, you know?
It is dangerous when you have a working beta or even a working alpha and you're like, well, we have all this content and we've been working on it for so long, so we have to show something, but they're not sure exactly what's going to make the final cut. And I don't even know if they released a release date yet. I don't think they've done so.
No, it's just when it's done. It's estimated to be 2020 is the kind of the ballpark. But
Yeah, so they got to be very careful what they show.
yeah, because you don't want to either overhype or under, because you overhype and whatnot, because people have been waiting for this for goodness knows how many years, and then you kind of go like, oh, it's this. It's like, oh, right.
And compare that to how Rockstar releases GTA. They have trailers, but they don't show any gameplay footage at E3. They just say, hey, we're going to show you when we're ready. And then it comes out and it's this big giant spectacle, which what GTA is. So if this is what they're doing, if they're doing a real style contemporary GTA world with futuristic elements and a freaking car or cars, yeah, that's a lot of moving parts. That's a lot of things that are going to go right and a lot of things they're going to remove. I'm sure there's dozens of things in GTA we didn't hear about that got cut. I don't know how many or how, like, imagine all the mini games from San Andreas there were that most people just skipped. They just didn't even bother with. And imagine how many others were removed. So you gotta remember what that's about. So expectations are always going to be high, but people who are diehard Project Red fans, it's more or less your standards are so high, you're going to be let down eventually. So because they changed their genre, because they changed their setting, everything is a brand new franchise. They're putting all their eggs in one basket, and they're really forging through with that idea, at least in terms of the production value. I know they're doing Gwent and other little things like that, but that's just to appease people and keep the Witcher series going. And in that capacity, they can still make money by producing small, cheap, effective games on the marketplace. So why not? Yeah, sure. So it's a big hope. It's a big dream. We'll be waiting for it for a few years. We'll be talking about it next year, I'm sure. So Dying Light 2. This was really funny. Okay, Dying Light 2. If anyone doesn't know, Chris Avellone is now a freelancer, so he's going wherever he wants. And he came out on stage, and I was like, oh my God, it's Chris Avellone. I'm like, it stopped and it registered for about 10 seconds. And I'm like, oh my God, what the hell is he doing? So I can't say good things about this game just yet because I don't know what the hell to expect. And this is kind of like the opposite of what Kojima is doing. Whereas Kojima does big games that are just crazy and weird and fun to play. Chris does very specific games that have a very tight, or not tight, but very visualized stories, or at least his versions when he's in that game. He doesn't do, aside from Planescape Torment, he doesn't do his own major thing and focuses on his creativity. He focuses on a character, he focuses on a story, he focuses on a chapter. So for him to introduce Dying Light 2, I'm like, okay, now I'm interested. But from what I was looking at, I don't know, because it's a zombie game. And yes, Planescape Torment is a zombie game, but not in the traditional sense. The idea was a subversion of the zombie trope. So because this is an actual zombie game, I'm like, oh, all right, sure. And wasn't there just a zombie game that just got released, which was another survival? Like you're building a base and you're
State of Decay.
Yeah, State of Decay 2, right. And I thought that looked great. And, I'm sure it didn't get huge reviews or huge praise, but I mean, if it's anything like that would be the standard for me to compare to another zombie survival game. Can you build, how many RPG elements are there? Can you build bases? Can you have teams? Can you do automated turrets, for example? So to have this, Dying Light 2 to have a narrative focus, or just to have Chris on it doesn't really tell me much. They could have gotten any writer, but because they asked him to present, I'm like, okay, what is going on here? So name recognition, maybe. Does anyone know? Is it just name recognition? I wish I knew, because I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you on stage? Don't do that, especially at E3. So, okay, Session is a skateboarding game, which I don't care about. Forza, another Microsoft game. They're going to keep making these games. It's a car game. The strange thing is, I have to mention this just because my compatriot is from Britain. This is being set in Britain. Are there any good highways or roads that you'd want to put a Forza game in Britain? I don't know.
If they're actually saying it in Britain, it's going to be like car parking simulator.
Like parallel parking. How well did you do? Huh?
The Inception music comes on as you're trying to park up.
Yeah, I wish I could make more jokes, but I'm only a car guy, so I can't say. Anyway, Gears, my goodness. Gears 5.
Still going. Jeez.
Still. I don't know what the big deal is. I do know there was a Gears tactics game, which, I mean, if you're playing a tactics game, or you're making a tactics game, the benchmark is XCOM or XCOM 2. So the gameplay footage looked pretty nice. And with the Gears setting and world, I think it could actually work because they have more than just standard XCOM scenarios, cover and whatnot. Obviously, Gears was a cover game, so it makes perfect sense to put this into a tactical simulator. I don't even like tactical style games, but because it's Gears, because it's using cover, and they have bosses, and they have all these other... There's actually some real-time elements I saw, which were strange. And that to me looks like I would really want to check that out. They had another Gears game called Gears Pop, which if anyone knows what Funko Pop toys are, which are stupid little big-headed dudes, they pretty much, the Funko guys, all they do is they go to any brand and say, hey, can we make toys of your characters? And some reason someone went to them and said, hey, can we make a game in the style of your heads or style of your toys with the Gears franchise? And all I'm thinking is like, there's Marcus Phoenix, and he's going to be having like a giant, I can't remember what the name of those weapons are, but with the chainsaw guns, and they're just sawing through this giant head, and it's just this gigantic blood brain splatter. I mean, that's the first thing that popped into my mind because it's this huge head body. So yeah, I mean, I thought that was attractive. I thought that was pretty cool to take the Gears franchise into new territory. I would probably check it out. Other games that were released or announced: Just Cause 4. Just Cause 4 is a joke. It's always been a joke. The Just Cause series has always been a joke. This is kind of like the Mexican the Mexican Big Boss trailer. It's like, war has changed, and then this some Spanish woman comes up and talks to him about the war going on. It's just ridiculous. It's funny. I can't say much more about it because it's stupid. Yeah, it's just a stupid game. And of course, the big announcement I thought was Halo Infinite. I don't know if people cared because Halo has been sort of dying out, but it did look interesting. And I don't know much about the Halo franchise, but the setting looked nice. The environment looked great. There wasn't much. I don't think they showed much gameplay aside from real time in a Jeep or something. But yeah, I think that's not the boldest thing to do with the Halo franchise, but a safe bet. And it really needs some. This has to be a winner, or else I think it's going to die. There's really not enough. I guess multiplayer. That would be the main thing that people want from Halo these days. But I can't see the story being any major reason to want to jump back into the game unless they do something new with it. So maybe a new setting might help. I don't know.
Yeah, it depends. Is it 343 Studios that are doing that, or is it another one?
Geez, I don't know. I know Microsoft probably, because it's Microsoft, unless they bought them out, didn't they? Microsoft.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who knows? I'm just curious what they're going to do with it. Now, apparently, go ahead.
So I was going to say, like, reminds me of the Animaniacs, like wheel of developers, turn. It's you guys. You're going to do Halo.
Please bring it back. Yeah, it's kind of like Fallout. We'll get to Fallout later. One game which I was not expecting, I didn't even care about, is called Jump Force. And Jump Force is pretty much, you have Marvel versus whatever in those fighting games.
Right, Marvel versus Capcom, yeah. Yeah,
those style of games. Well, this is pretty much take Shonen Jump or any of the Japanese manga or animes that are popular and just slam them together. So you have like Dragon Ball versus was it what's that pirate game or pirates New Piece?
One Piece.
One Piece.
One Piece. Yeah,
One
it's
Piece.
One Piece. I think.
Yeah. So what would happen aside from Goku smashing the living crap out of everyone? Yeah, I don't care. It's a fighting game, but I'm sure a lot of people are happy. But the same way people are happy about Super Smash Brothers, same idea. Only this is a new IP. And of course, Metro. There's got to be another Metro game. I'm not a huge fan of the Metro series. I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great setting. I just never got into it. And yeah, probably going to be more of the same, different setting, lots of creepy zombies to kill, all kinds of neat, popular ammo. That's the big thing. Who has the best ammo to kill things better, I guess. But yeah.
What's good about the Metro series is that I mean, because it's a very Russian lifestyle, which is just utterly depressing. Like every time they do a sequel, it's like, okay, in this game you're gonna have a good ending and bad ending. It's like, well, guess what? The canon ending is the bad one, and they've just picked the bad one every single time. So yeah, it's the bad one all the time. RTM killed off the Darkstalkers, if that's what they're called, or something. It's like, yeah, he nuked them. He didn't make peace with them or anything like that. Yeah, you basically dropped a H-bomb on them.
Well, Roadside Picnic will always be one of my favorite, if not my most favorite, science fiction story. So it makes sense that there are going to be games inspired by that, or even inspired by any Russian authors. Russian authors are very good at doing drama and tragedy. So how that translates into a survival post-apocalyptic world, I don't know, but it's a perfect idea. So it's every iteration will have to have something new about it. And Metro has been popular, so I don't see why they shouldn't stop making them. But nothing caught my attention. Nothing really drew me in. Okay, another game which is always fun to look at, the Devil May Cry 5. This is the Devil May Cry series. They're doing a reboot or what is it called? What do you call this? Where they go back to number 3 or something and they just reboot it again. So Dante has a beard and there's like a new protagonist. It's so cringeworthy. It's good. It's so stupid. There's some Southern chick in a van and she's like, I don't know, the Punisher guy's tech expert. I don't know who that is. And she makes a bionic arm for some dude and the new Dante guy. And it's just stupid. It's just stupid, silly Devil May Cry bullshit. So yeah, I mean, what can you say about it? It's going to be more demons, more stances, more weapons, more swords, and crazy jumping off walls bullshit. So fun. And they're doing a remake of Nier Automata, which is cool. Got all the DLC going. That's a great idea. Basically, a best hits version of the game. Why not? PUBG is coming out again. Again, why not? Because they're still alive, even though they're suing Fortnite. But,
well, they're also trying to get it out because not every single AAA, but like Activision EA are putting Battle Royale into their major games now. So they're trying to get it onto the consoles as quickly as before, getting themselves established before the AAA manages to just bring in that big truck and just crack the earth open and soak that well dry.
It's either going to be patched this year in every possible way online for multiplayer games, or it'll be a release of a major aspect that, like, we know Battlefield 5 is going to do that. So yeah, it's just another thing that just got popular just because they reinvented it and then, oh wow, it's hot now, let's do that. That's all it is, really.
Yeah, streamers candy, really. That's what it is.
Pretty much, yeah, popcorn stuff. Okay, here's a game that not too many people know about. It's called Ori and the Will of the Wisps. This is a beautifully cinematic-looking game. It's kind of imagine if Odin's Sphere was 3D, and it had a more Disney vibe to it. Magical creatures in the woods, exploration, castle, Metroidvania-style gameplay. Looks beautiful. It's going to be a sleeper hit, I bet. It's going to be one of those games that not too many people know about, but it's just a beautiful looking trailer. Everything about this trailer is just magical. And you have to obviously you have to like that style of game, but just to watch it is just a thing. So if there's anything you want to see of a trailer, check out Ori and the Will of the Wisps just for the trailer alone. It'll be very charming, and it's a game I think I'd want to play with everyone just to show how beautiful it is. Because there's some games that your friends who aren't gamers look at, and they, oh, what are you doing? I'm playing a game. What are you playing? Oh, and they'll look at that and say, this is really like watching a Disney film or something like that. So then, of course, there's the ever zombie games, or what do you call the games that just won't die? The Sea of Thieves. Yeah, don't know, don't care, but they're trying to fix it, and more power to them. You know,
they're doing the No Man's Sky tactic, I see.
That's true.
Release a bare bones product and then just kind of go, oh yeah, there's all the content's been released now. Don't shut us out.
We meant to do it that way. It'll come out in 2022. Sure, yeah, okay.
Sorry, that was the wrong build we put online. I'm sorry. That was 0.6. I'm sorry, guys.
We just wanted to give it to you as soon as possible. Yeah. Now here's another of the Japanese Assassin's Creed Dark Souls-ish game, only made by the Dark Souls team, called Sekiro. Shadows Die Twice. I thought this was the stronger of the 3 or the 4 this year, depending if you're talking about the actual release of or the announcement of the Assassin's Creed. But I really liked this trailer. I thought the gameplay was spot on. Actually, was there gameplay? I just remember a lot of the. Actually, I think it was cinematics. Yeah, and beautiful stuff. I mean, this is much more focused story narrative. Characters are much more obvious. Again, you're a immortal character who dies and comes back to life, which could have some interesting gameplay elements if that's the vibe they're going with, if that's what they're trying to do. The same way Planescape Torment had interesting dying elements. So yeah, this is a cross-up. If you like the Dark Souls franchise, obviously go to the guys who know what they're doing. And it looks great. It looks like a quality product to me. And we don't even know what the game is like yet. And we have to talk about Tales of Vesperia because everyone loves a good Japanese RPG franchise sometimes. Okay, maybe not everyone, but I don't know the Tales. I don't know the Tales series very much, but if you like chicks with blue hair and guys wielding big weapons that aren't too big and all kinds of Japan mega tropes, this is the game for you, I guess. I don't know. I didn't really like the trailer too much, but it's a popular franchise, aside from another one we're going to talk about later. But it's there. And one game which I actually did love, I love the trailer for this. And I know I probably shouldn't, and you'll probably chastise me about this. The Division 2. And we all know the problems of the Division and what happens with the multiplayer and the bullet sponges and God knows what other issues came up from that. Microtransactions, we don't want to get into that. The trailer for this was beautiful. I love the trailer. The trailer
for the first game was beautiful as well, wasn't it?
Yes,
that was an awesome trailer.
It was amazing. And then you realize, oh, we got lied to. So if you want to play a really great game, this is probably not going to be it. But the trailer is so gorgeous. The little girl with this amazing arm, she throws this paper airplane. It travels for about a minute and a half from a 2-story outcropping of a base, and it just goes through so many elements, so many what happens to Washington, D.C. when everything goes to crap. That's what I like. I love that post-apocalyptic or that dystopia setting, and it was just the guy who was doing the trailer, give him $20, whatever. You know, that's what I would do. If I'd wait for the game to go on sale and give the guy $20. If he had a tip jar, I'd throw it at him. Yeah.
Unfortunately, for the game there, it's going to be a bit strange.
Yeah, it's going to be a bullet sponge piece of crap. But yeah, the trailer was beautiful. So this is another big game. It is Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and these games are coming out like once a bloody year, so I didn't even have time to look at the past 5. You know, I stopped when Ezio was done being a young man. So after medieval Italy, I'm like, okay, I'm not interested in much else. But this brings us back to ancient Greece, Spartans and the Athenians, and it has Elias Tefexis as one of the main characters, if not the main character you play. the voice, of course. And you can also play as a female called Cassandra. And I thought, you know what? It's about bloody time if they can do this with games. They added a new dialogue element, very similar to what BioWare might have done without the dialogue wheel. And they added, what was the other aspect? They added some major battles you can partake in. Oh, there was something else. It's more of an RPG now. They have skill trees, they have items. This is the game if you wanted to bring back the Assassin's Creed franchise. I think this is the right path to go because it makes things, the hardcore people who love the parkour and who love who love history, really. I mean, I'd be interested in playing this just because the previous game was ancient Rome, I think, with Egypt, or it was mostly Egypt with little bits of ancient Rome because that's when Romans were trying to conquer the world. So Egypt was there. And in this one, I did not see one hidden blade. So I'm like, oh, there's a jump. There's a change. And I don't know if they did that in the previous game, but I'm interested. I love the setting.
You're going to have the Achilles heel blade.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. Sorry. That's a terrible joke.
He has an axe kick and his blade pops out of nowhere. Stabs the guy.
Like a little blade pops out the back of his heel and he just goes, what on? Just like hits people in the head with it. Like, just kung fu chops people with his leg.
It's like the opposite of that, the James, was it Octopussy, where the chick has the blade and the James Bond or Sean Connery has the chair and he's trying not to get stabbed by the guy's foot. That's good. Okay, well, you know what? I just thought the setting, the focus on RPG elements and Elias Tefexis for me is always, maybe because I'm still going through Deus Ex, I'm interested in Elias so much, but I don't know. That's just me. Skull and Bones, boy oh boy. If you loved Black Flag, well, no, it's just more of the same. Thank you, Ubisoft, for doing that for us. It's basically Skull and Bones is basically like a Black Flag, and more of the same, which is not a bad thing. I just wish I knew about the story aside from the British being bombed by everyone. So, if you're gonna have a time period piece about being a pirate, then you're gonna be attacking the British. So that's just how it goes. For Honor online multiplayer game, I don't really care about. Now they have Chinese warriors. Yay. I don't know a thing about ancient China, and I guess that would be cool. Maybe. Who knows? Mm-hmm. I should talk to some of my classic wartime guys who love history and strategy. They might know about that, but could not tell you. Do not know. And Starlink. Okay. I'm not sure exactly how this worked with Nintendo and Ubisoft coming together. Did Nintendo buy Ubisoft, or is this like they just bought the franchise? I don't know. Maybe it's just like...
There's some things like Rayman's. Was Rayman on one of the Nintendo games?
Ooh, you might be right.
Because that was done by Ubisoft as well. So. Yeah.
And this is Star Fox. And I think out of all the franchises that have been popular, Star Fox is probably the least. It's they don't have many games for it. It was only a big deal because of the N64 back in the day. And I don't care. Yeah, might be good, but it's another shooter or shmup with better graphics and more 3D controls. So, yeah, don't really care. Sorry. Sorry, Nintendo and Ubisoft. One thing I will say is that the Trials Rising looked like a Excitebike, a 3D version of Excitebike. And apparently there's some full throttle elements, but I don't know how that works when you're talking about a side-scrolling 3D Excitebike clone. So, meh. And of course, there is Bethesda. Sorry, not Bethesda. Oh boy, I'm not going to pull that one out yet. Jeez. Beyond Good and Evil 2. Beyond Good and Evil 2, everyone's waiting for it. It was a tech demo / cinematic trailer we got, I think it was last year, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I think it was. And this is yet another one. I think they showed some gameplay in another trailer.
Yeah, it was a tech piece of what they were working on with the big ship. You know, you can like go inside it and things like that. or you were
Yeah,
going around it, I should say. You didn't actually go inside it.
yeah, and all the anthropomorphic characters, and I think there was the whole thing about being a Kickstarter demo or started off like that. It's like, oh, okay, so yeah, again, another beautiful trailer. And if you're going to watch a trailer, this might not be the best of the show, but a lot of people are looking at it. So again, not for me. I probably won't care. If it was more of the first game, like with the Pokemon Snap style elements and the storyline focus, then yeah, maybe. But it's just all cinematic, so I can't really latch on to a anthropomorphic world where there's all these sky pirates and you're in space. It just it's a space opera, and you really have to focus your space opera narrative, or at least focus your character to give us a shining light to look at. Because with space operas, with fantasy elements, it's too big. There's too much to look at. So you really have to focus, and they haven't shown that to me yet. And that's why I don't really care. Okay, now we get to talk about Bethesda. This is, I don't know if this is the most popular trailer, but this is probably the most talked about game online right now. And that's Fallout 76. Now, for me, I've always wanted an online Fallout game. I've said that since Fallout 2. I was not expecting it to be, after the 3D world, I couldn't imagine what would happen to it. So I'm excited for this. Now, we have to take everything they say with a massive heaping of salt because we're talking about Todd Howard. We're talking about, and really, if you pay attention to the trailers, there was a no-clip interview. There's a bunch of other interviews. They're talking as if they're not quite sure what this thing is. And that's okay, because when you're talking about a multiplayer game, there's not much to test. There's not much to go with. They haven't hit beta. They haven't done test groups and stress groups. They haven't done all these things. We don't know what this game is about. But from what I've seen, I'm interested. I'm really curious. I would love to have a whole bunch of people in power armor on a team taking territory from another bunch of guys. That sounds like something I would have wanted done in the first game, where you had like zones of control, and you had territory, and you're staking claims, and you're building bases and building communities. Now, obviously, if something can get torn down, what is the level of that? Like, is there like a Minas Tirith level of walls, and you have to break them all down and get through? Probably not, obviously, but I would love to see what they can do with it. And all the controversy of there being not a single player component and watering down the RPG elements, who knows? That's always a problem.
Well, what I'm worried about, this is me thinking worst case scenario, but did you hear about H1Z1 when it first came out?
No.
Right, basically it was jumping on the bandwagon of all these survival games, because DayZ got really, really popular.
Right,
so
right.
Everyone jumped on. H1Z1 was basically going to be about you build up, your base and things like that. And the moment that you start saying it's going to be an online game, you're going to do base building, I was like, right, you're just encouraging what I've called sad bastard syndrome. You spend 6 weeks building up your base, doing those things, and then you dare to log off, go to work or go to college or whatever. You have the temerity to actually have a life outside this game, and then some sad little bugger jumps on at 2 o'clock in the morning and just levels all your crap with a nuke. Right. So, I mean, obviously, some people have told me that that there may be private servers involved that you can just have with your friends, which is so it's kind of be more like some people said that it's gonna be like Rust or is it Ark Survival Evolved? There's another one. So you can obviously have like your own individual things, but either way, it's going to be like, okay, I'm worried about people getting really sad because this happened with H1Z1 where people in America going, right, we need people in Europe and Australia to log on at certain times to make sure all the crap's okay. And it's like, is this a game or is this a job that I'm going to be doing? Yeah. And if they're watering down the RPG elements, that means that there's a risk of it purely being item based, which like a lot of these survival games have, because then it's not survival whereby you're a human contributing to the society with your own skills and your own merits and flaws, and you're all trying to balance yourself right. No, it's just all item based. So as soon as you've got all the good items, then you're going to be dominating people. That's my big, right. That's just my big worry. That's me thinking worst case scenario. So,
and in that vein, there's all the questions that come with that. I mean, do you have loot drops from player kills? Do they lose the armor they just acquired? Do you keep it? Is it a copy of that armor? There's all sorts of questions that go along with that. And if you're, this is now essentially an MMO, there's no question about it. Whether it's going to be a limited in scope with instances of servers, or maximum limits of 12 people at a time, or whatever, those questions are natural because we've seen the evolution of WoW, and we know how it's going to go, and we know how certain other MMOs work. Like they talked about a workstation, or you could have an instance of a workstation at a certain location, and then you log off and it'll still be there. And you're like, well, does that mean you're going to have hundreds of people with workstations all over the place logging off and having these things? Like, it's going to get bizarre. So there's just so many technical issues that they have to go through. And that's why when you heard about the interviews, everyone was sort of unclear what they were saying. And even I'm still unclear now, which just means to me they're going to cut content. They're going to cut it functionality. So what is it going to be? Some sort of non-multiplayer, or not an MMO huge, but definitely a online multiplayer.
I can't believe it's not an MMO.
Yeah,
we're going to call it an MMO.
Something.
It's like, because if you actually look on the DayZ thing, it actually says it's an MMO. It actually won Best MMO award when it came out. I was just like, it's 50 people. Like, that's not an MMO. It's like, does that mean Battlefield's been an MMO since like 2001 or whenever it came out?
Yeah, so it's either persistent or it's not. It's either going to have lots of people or it's not. I mean, you have to get through the understanding of what you're getting, and at least this is a multiplayer. Imagine what they did with base building. Like, base building was sort of like a tacked on feature to Fallout 4. Imagine they had a Fallout 5, which was a full single player game, which everyone wants. And then they tacked on multiplayer. You know how much of a mess that would have been?
Oh, God, yeah.
Now imagine if it was simple multiplayer. If it was like, hey, you want to join my server, or you want to join my instance of my world? That would have been perfectly fine. That would have been great. And maybe because the focus was single player, and people would say, hey, I can play with my buddy now, and he can check out my gear, and we can go around, and maybe they have vehicles, and maybe they can help out with quest lines. Why not? That would sound totally fine. So because they're focusing on multiplayer, I have a much better acceptance of it being a multiplayer game. But being persistent, loot drops, legendary loot drops, because they said they started doing legendary crap or whatever. So yeah, lots of questions. And this is one of those things where you want to wait a good 8 months to 12 months just to see how it's going to develop. And it'll be popular. It'll sell. It'll have a community. I just don't know how long it'll last. Because if it lasts, good luck on finding a single player Fallout anytime soon. That is just not going to happen for another 5 years. So, yeah, it's kind of like a pet project. But look at their other pet project, Fallout Shelter, the #1 downloaded game of 2016. Huge. I saw people of all ages playing it on the subways of Toronto. So, yeah, they obviously have done something right. So they know what they're doing to a point with MMOs. With projects, with new ideas, and even on the Nexus for mods. Like, the mod community is now like, what the freaking hell are we going to do with an MMO or with an online game? If you look at,
that's going to raise up all problems, isn't it?
Oh, geez, who knows?
It's like, people having that, you can't join the server unless you've paid for these mods and things like that. It's going to be all over the bloody place, isn't it? And
they're going to use their crazy system that is, what is it called? A mod community. So I don't know. It's a lot of hardcore fans are going, no, this is not what we want, and I understand that, but it's still Fallout. It's still the world you want to be in. And whether it's persistent or non-persistent or just online and instanced, I'd still want to check it out. That's just my feeling. Now, I could be biased because of my love of New Vegas and Fallout 2. And I don't know. I want to see the creatures. I want to see the worlds. I want to see how that crazy nuke dynamic works. I don't know what Todd Howard was talking about, where I have the nuclear codes, I have a launch button, but I'm not going to use it. I'm going to barter. It's like, why would you? What would you barter for? Like, what? Give me your nuke codes, or I'll use mine. Like, what? No, I won't. I won't use my nuke codes. Oh, okay. Then you're not really terrifying, are you? So I don't know what that mechanic will mean. I don't know what all the details exactly will amount to, but I'm going to pay attention, and I'm very interested in it. So they've got me hooked. I love the music video, or the music. I love the music in the trailer. If only it was a single player game. If only, then I'd be like, oh yeah. But now I'm like, ooh, that's weird. Yeah. So other games. We'll stop talking. We can go on about Fallout and what they should be doing for another hour, but we won't. So Elder Scrolls, no idea. Elder Scrolls Legends, no idea. Starfield, 30 seconds of huh? I guess we're doing Starfield now. So yeah, who knows what they're up to. Okay, let's go on to Doom Eternal.
Hey, everyone loves Doom.
Doom.
Doom. Looks like they've done Doom. Yeah, it looks like they're doing Doom 2 remake pretty well. If the first one was anything to go off by.
Yeah, double barrel shotgun. So yeah, that's.
Well, they did have that in the first one, didn't they? The remake, that is, sorry, the 2016 one.
Yeah, was that the highlight? I don't know, but that's all I really saw out of the trailer. So it's like, okay, yeah, it's Doom. Keep pushing it. Yeah. Keep going. No story. Kind of like how Devil May Cry is just a fun, crazy game. This is like a serious, bloody first-person shooter. So why not?
Well, it's like Doom does have a story. It's just Doom guy just doesn't give two craps about it. It's like, whatever, man. I'm just gonna do my own thing and just start ripping people apart.
It's basically what John Wick did. Like, John Wick is a movie about a guy who lost his dog, so he goes out and kills people. What's Doom? What's Doom? Some guy killed his pet something.
Oh, it's his pet rabbit.
Is it?
In the original Doom series, it's his pet rabbit. When he gets back to Earth, you see his pet rabbit, its head on a spike.
Okay.
I'm not sure whether that's a parody or not. Someone's probably going to correct me on that, but apparently it's like, does have a pet rabbit.
It's the same thing with John Wick is so popular, they're making a third movie about a stupid plot. But because it's such a high production value with good actors and good training and visuals and action scenes, if that's exactly what people want and they get what they want, it's going to do well, and it's doing well. So it's Doom. It's going to do well. Doesn't matter what it's about. It's going to work. So, and that's the exact opposite of our next game, which is probably the most popular game out of E3 coming through, at least as far as the statistics show on trailer views and some other rankings. That is Anthem. Oh boy, Anthem. What can we say that has not already been said and has already been shown? There's really not too much information that has been shared, but teams of four classes. I went to. Do you know more than what everyone else knows? Go ahead. I wish I knew.
No, because I figured out who the actual enemy is in the game. It's New Times Roman.
Oh,
the font.
The fonts. Look out.
Yeah. Because, whenever you hit the monster, whenever you're firing at something, all these beautiful particles, all those beautiful models and animations that they've been working on for ages and whatnot, all get screamed over by New Times Roman numerals. It's just like, numbers. It's like, brilliant. We've worked ages on this. What we're going to do, we're going to, it's like font wars. That's what they've done,
I think someone was trying to say it was like Pacific Rim, only life size. So, I don't know if that's a good way. I don't know if that's a good thing to say about Anthem, because at least we know some things. There's some sort of sound, which was the dawn of creation or something, that Anthem was about, and it's the last vestige of humanity, and you have to go hunt something down.
It's stuck on a planet. Yeah, the Anthem, the engine of Anthem.
Yeah, it's too vague. We did see some gameplay footage, of course, which is always nice.
Well, that was scripted out the backside. That wasn't gameplay. It's like the first one that we showed off.
It's another same issue with exactly what happened with Destiny when it was shown, and
the Division,
and the Division especially. It's just the same problems are going to happen. And because it's BioWare, we think and Casey Hudson was there. It's like, oh boy, here we go.
Did you see the awkward interview? It's like, oh yeah, so Casey, you left for a little bit. He was like, yeah, I did. Thanks for reminding me, you dozy moose. Why did you bring that up?
Yeah, he came back just to make sure. He came back to make sure it's all going to go well. It's like, sure he did. Right. More like BioWare was like dying and we need someone to bring BioWare back. So they brought the guy who actually knows what the hell is they're doing or hopefully knows what they're doing. And yeah, we got to get him on that couch. Got to get him talking to whoever.
I think he's going to be like, if Anthem's going to bomb, Casey Hudson's going to be like the ending of Terminator 2. He's going to have his thumb up as he's just slowly sinking into the lava.
Goodbye, cruel world. Goodbye, RPGs in Canada. Goodbye, Dragon Age. Goodbye. Well, I think we can say Mass Effect is gone, even though the guy's like, no, we didn't kill it. Well, yeah.
We buried it. It's still alive, though.
It's like Deus Ex. Deus Ex is dead. It's not coming back. We know it's dead. If they bring it back another 4 years from now, no one's gonna care. Same with Mass Effect. I'll be 10 years older by the time the next Mass Effect game even thinks about coming out. So if Anthem fails next year, which I think it's coming out next year, I can't remember.
Yes, it's going to be March. Did it say March 2019?
Something like that.
I think that's because that's kind of they have this thing about March for some reason. Like Mass Effect 3 came out in March. Was Mass Effect 2 in January? That might have been January.
I think Andromeda came out in April or March or April. Yeah,
it was March. It was like 23rd of March. Well, was that the one where it was National Autism Day or something? It was like, oh god, that's too convenient.
Well, it was either National Autism or it was Feminism Day, so I don't know what the hell that one was. But
isn't that the same thing? Oh,
Canada.
Oh, controversial. Sorry, I'm gonna have the police knocking on my door now, going, "Oi, mate, you got a license for that?"
Just keep riffing on Canada. The more, the merrier. We got to keep doing that. We got Rockstar left. Ubisoft somewhere over there. Eidos Montreal is somewhere over there. But yeah, okay. BioWare, do what you got to do. But yeah, it looks okay. It looks nice. As a Destiny clone, it looks pretty good. Gotta give it props to that. We can't knock it till we try it. So yeah. Now the funniest thing of probably the whole thing for me was the Jedi Fallen Order non-trailer. I don't know if anyone watched the video on that. They pretty much just went to a guy in the crowd and said, "Hey,
yeah, the guy,
how is Jedi Fallen Order going?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, it's going, yeah." So pretty sad. Pretty. I don't want to talk about it because we're talking about it.
That was the lead guy from Respawn, wasn't it? And is he the project lead or is the actual guy in charge? It's just like, oh hi there. It's like the most awkward. Like, why would you do that? If you're going to announce and say, oh yeah, by the way, this is what you just like, come on, you killed Visceral, and now you're doing it, and now you're saying it like, oh yeah, by the way, this is new Star Wars gaming. Like, oh,
Star Wars is a dying franchise, at least where the money is in terms of movies. So to not do strongly, like either announce strong or not at all. In this case, this was even a rumor. This is like, what the hell's going on? Oh yeah, we're working on it. We just have nothing to show for it. Well, don't even bother. Don't even mention it. Don't even talk about it. Going to some like oppressed guy in the bloody seats going, oh, I'm so happy I'm not in the studio right now. Oh, hi. Yeah, we're working real hard, guys. Okay, see ya. Like, no.
There's probably like something on the teleprompter that says that do not talk to this guy, but someone's head was in the way of it. It says talk to this guy. It's like, oh, right. Whoops.
Yeah, well, it's kind of hard to say what's going to happen to Star Wars franchise. And I actually I'm going to talk to Mahler about that in my next live stream about whenever I get around to watching Solo. So yeah, hard to say what again, it's going to be another 5 years before we see anything, let alone being a release. So all these big projects by EA are just, who knows what they're going to do with them. Sea of Solitude. This is another interesting game from the same makers who made those other style of over-the-top exploration, narrative-driven pirate games. What are they called? What was that company called? I can't remember. Geez, it was such a beautifully done game too. I really should check those games out because they do have voice acting, and there's all these Cthulhu style enemies in the water. Jeez, but yeah, this seems to be another version of that, and it's an interesting genre that came out of nowhere, and I'm glad EA is doing something with it. So kind of an indie style game for EA to do, which I'm always curious how that comes about, but I'm glad they're doing it. So very nice, very neat. Okay, so that was EA. Mixed bag there, of course. Squenix. This is another mixed bag, and for various reasons. People didn't like the idea of just having day-old trailers being announced again or re-announced from when they were released. But you gotta understand, E3 is about a show. It's not necessarily about gameplay. It's about sensationalism. So if it works, it works. So when you have
spectacle.
Yeah. So when you have Shadow of the Tomb Raider, people love the reboot, so they're going to get more of the same. People who don't like it don't give a crap. If they don't show much gameplay, then fine. But I think they did show some, and that's fine, even though it was mostly cinematics. So on that alone, people will love it. But people who don't say the Square Enix showing was pretty bad. Kingdom Hearts 3. This has been, geez, every time Square Enix does something, it takes them like a decade. So this has been what, 9 years since the second game? I don't know. But when you have the Frozen franchise and you have Kingdom Hearts, which just amalgamates everything, people are going to.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, people are going to pay attention. Like this is a big deal. But again, I was never a fan of that style of game. But it will garner more likes and more eyes. Whether that translates to sales and whether that translates to a good game, I really can't say, because Square Enix is, with Deus Ex and other things they've been doing, I don't know what they're up to these days that to pay attention to, worthwhile to pay attention to.
It just kind of feels to me with this Kingdom Hearts 3, like Disney's probably told them, well, we want Tangled, we want Frozen, we want the other current releases from our movies to be added into the game, which is probably push back development and probably had to rework some of the things that they wanted in that game.
The problem is those narratives are such a gigantic cluster of just random events. Like I remember playing the first one and I was like, this is strange. It's weird. And I can understand it because they had the main character, they had the plot, he's looking after his two friends and he has to go help them out, go find them. And then somehow Donald Duck and Goofy get involved. And you're like, okay, all right, I can fly with that. And it keeps getting weirder. And that's where, unless you're a super fan of Disney characters, which everyone is, I think we love Disney, but we're not super fans. We're just sort of like, hey, yeah, Disney. And then to throw in Squaresoft and to throw in every other thing that comes about, it's too much. You're just diluting the crap out of your story with more characters and more franchises, hoping on popular opinion to work. And I don't know what they're doing. This is the Japanese work ethic where they work, and they polish the crap out of something and they need more time and more money and more resources. And it's like, okay, this is not how to make a quality product, at least something I care about. And these are really cringy stories. These are really, like Sephiroth, and now he's fighting Cloud, but Cloud doesn't have his memory, and now it's a different version of Cloud. And then, oh, look, there's Safer from Final Fantasy VIII. And it's like, okay, I can't take too much of this. So very popular, obviously. People love these style of games. Japan loves
reference the game. I think that's what it should be called.
Yeah. How many popular franchises from our company can we reference? Oh, yeah, and throw in Disney for a good mix. Yeah. So, now they are doing a game, which is an actual RPG, which is kind of like Paper Mario. It's called Octopath Traveler. It has some voice acting. It has some turn-based battles. Yeah, I didn't really catch my eye. Cutesy pixel art, it's always cool, but not heavy on the narrative, not heavy on the gameplay. Classic RPG, which you expect from Squaresoft. So only for hardcore JRPG fans, really. But could be interesting. Now, one I did not understand at all. It's called The Quiet Man, which is the thing I hate about this trailer is they use live actors, and it's basically a bunch of punks and they're fighting in the streets. And for some reason, the guy can't talk. And then it transitions to the gameplay and it shows the guy beating a bunch of guys up. And it makes no goddamn sense. I'm like, what am I watching? Why is this happening? Who are these people? So pretty
Saves
weak.
money on sound design, really, I suppose.
That's a smart, yeah. If you're going to have the silent protagonist who's literally silent, yeah, I guess that's one way to look at it. But yeah, it's just there's other games that do it well. Yakuza does it well. God Hand, if they bothered to continue that series, I thought was great. But if you're just looking at gameplay and presentation, this is pretty bad. Final Fantasy VII Remake, no one knows. the most talked about thing everyone wants is to talk about or to even get any crumbs from. Nothing.
Where's magnum opus? It's like, oh, they're gonna remake it. Every E3, it's like, is it ready yet? No. Is it ready yet? No.
No. Sorry.
Wasn't that one of the demands that they made? Like, was it Final Fantasy 15, where they said if it doesn't sell very well, then they're not going to do 7?
Yeah.
And it's just like, why don't you do 7 first? Because clearly people want that.
Yeah.
Then you can use that money to get. It's like you don't hold your golden goose hostage.
Yeah, it's odd. I don't know how they're doing things. Like they're doing this game called Babylon's Fall. It's so. It looks like an MMO, but it's not an MMO. It's just this strange looking. Like it starts off with all these 2D 2D pictures. So obviously they're still developing the intro and whatever, and then it jumps into cinematics, and it kind of looks like Dark Souls, but I don't know. Like there's not enough information about it. So it's again one of those very obscure Japanese-esque philosophical, ooh, it's going to mean something, but it's just a bunch of big creatures bopping each other on the heads. I don't know. I hate when they do things like that. So yeah, I can understand why Square Enix was always looked upon badly this year. So, but hey, it had Kingdom Hearts 3, so yay. All right, here's the other Japanese big. This was actually a pretty good showing in terms of giving people what they want. So Nintendo did Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, one of the most popular trailers out there. I'm not going to talk about it because I don't care, and it's just basically a beat 'em up game. Fire Emblem Three Heroes. Not a big fan of the Fire Emblem series. I like the fact that it's focused on story and generations and relationships, and some of them have to do. I think what was the game that had children where you actually paired up characters in the next generation? The heroes had children. I thought that was cool. Not sure what they're doing that in this time around, but because it's about war and relationships, it's great. I just hated the item mechanic. I hate breaking my sword or my legendary weapon after 10 uses. It annoys the shit out of me. Oh, I just can't play these games because of that. But I like the concept. It's a simple turn-based strategy game, and they made a good franchise, let's just say. So it's popular, it's working. More power to Nintendo. And of course, there's Super Mario Party. Is that ever going to end? Is everyone's like, okay, let's not have silly party games anymore with the Super Mario franchise? I don't know. They're silly.
Well, they're a staple, aren't they? It's like EA's Madden and FIFA.
Yeah,
really.
I guess. They sell like crazy. I don't know why they have to announce it as anything special. It's like, yeah, we have FIFA. Yeah, it's Mario Party. You jump around on toadstools and take coins from each other. Like, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there was what was that crazy company did Metal Wolf Chaos? What's the name of that reactor? Was it Devolver? That's the game. They had a really wild showing. Really, like if you thought last year was crazy, this year was nuts. There was Metal Wolf Chaos, which is just this stupid mech warrior game, which is just so silly. It's stupid. It's so stupid. It's cool. My friend Pietro, I think it was. Which imagine playing as Deadpool and you're doing acrobatics with twin pistols. I mean, I was watching. It is so funny. It is just.
Yeah, I've seen that.
If you've never seen my friend Pietro, I've been watching it on Facebook because they've been releasing videos throughout the months, like every week, if not several times a week, of just the bizarre stunts you do. And it really is. Imagine classical operatic music with Deadpool doing flips and jumps and spins and killing people in the most ridiculous fashions and doing slam dunks and going on bikes and rolling around. It's ridiculous, side-scrolling, fun, silly. I mean, just seeing it is entertaining. And there have been some really beautiful videos made of it so far. And if you haven't done so, check it out. I don't know why they have bananas in the title or the subtitle. Why it's a Spanish guy, I don't know. It's just stupid. It's funny. And those are the kinds of games they do. Hitman 2, which is not to be confused with, of course, the original Hitman or the Hitman franchise. Not exactly sure what's going on with that. It's its own beast. So it looks great. It looks beautiful. And what they've changed, I don't know, but the trailer looked great. The gameplay was fantastic. So I think Hitman is one of those franchises that has come back. The AI is really smart, and I think if they keep going along those lines, that'll be the benchmark for stealth assassin style games. If they aren't already, I think it's the longest running for AAA titles that appeal to a mass audience. They're on computer, they're on PS4 and what have you. So yeah, I think that's one to look out for. I should probably check. That's probably one franchise I might consider doing when I'm doing my next plot analysis. I'll be asking everyone to vote. I might put that in the list, and I don't know which one though because there's been so many. But there's a few other games that haven't been out there that we haven't talked about. Of course, we can't cover everything, but I think that was the most that I wanted to get off my chest, just because it's just been such a weird week. And like Battlefield 5, I'm not really going to talk about because it's Battlefield 5. Who cares?
It's what they're doing there with Battlefield 5 is deliberately stirring up controversy, and they're just hiding the fact that
I don't know. Is that it really?
Well, that's the kind of thing that I'm going in for, because you had the developer going, using his daughter as basically as a human freaking shield. To kind of go, his daughter was like, I want to play Battlefield, but there's no women in it. It's like, women have played Battlefield for years.
Yeah.
And it's had guys in it. They've had no problem in it. Like, if you want to do it in a kind of, if they just said, it's a sensationalized history, but set within World War II, like Inglourious Bastards or say The Dirty Dozen, fine. Cool. Do whatever you want. Do it like Bad Company. Bad Company was a tongue-in-cheek version of the Battlefield series in and of itself. But instead they're doing this ultra-realistic side, and then they're going, oh yeah, and the multiplayer is going to be crazy wacky, and everyone's going to be wearing all these different clothing. It's like, you can't do both.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
They're trying to validify the microtransactions. And they say, okay, well, how do we do that? What's a way we can make money that the fans won't hate us for? And they have to look at stuff like what Steam was doing with buying stupid hats or whatever bullshit for their games. Same with League of Legends skins. Like you have to offer cosmetic stuff, because then the gamers will go, well, then this guy's cheating. This guy has a better weapon, blah, blah, blah. So it has to be cosmetic. If it's not cosmetic, you're going to be hated. So that's it. That's all the options they have for microtransactions. Everything else is DLC, which have to be optional. They can't be mandatory. And if they have like DLC servers, that if you only bought this version or this upgrade or this expansion pack, then I mean, they might be able to get away with it, but I don't know if people are going to like that. So,
yeah, I just think it's just because they're adding a female model just so they can double up the amount of cosmetics in the game, really. So that's what it kind of comes down to. It's just them selling things, and they trying to hide behind whatever thing that they can get behind. Really, it's just
Yeah, probably. I wish I knew what their brain was, because when we saw that trailer, was it last month when it came out for Battlefield 5? It was just this mess. It was like, what is going on? You're in a house. You're out of the house. There's bombs going off. There's a plane landing. You're stealing a guy's weapon. You're like, what is happening? It was too bizarre. It was too weird. And then there was a chick running around with a Scottish accent, and then she had
just standard Cockney British accent. She had like a prosthetic arm and things like that. Yeah, that's the crazy cosmetics.
Yeah, and you're like, why? Why did this happen? And who knows?
But people are actually, sorry, someone just said that, I noticed in the chat, saying that, you know, cosmetics are important. Yeah, but they're only used for the Battle Royale games. But when you actually take Battlefield and you take it into its standard modes, you're basically wrecking the identification process of which class is which. So you're not sure whether that's a guy with a machine gun, or this is potentially, by the way, obviously we haven't actually seen it until it comes out, but the potential is that, you know, is this guy a machine gunner? Is that a sniper? Right? Is that a sniper? Is that an assault guy? Who is it? And if you're having all these crazy cosmetics added on top of that, you don't know who you're facing up against, so you don't know how to counter that person through varying degrees of gameplay. Although then again, they have said that they've removed bullet drop from the game, so pretty much like SMGs are going to be like firing across the map. I think that there was a tweet about that. Don't quote me on that. I'm gonna have to try and find the tweet, but there is something like they've said like the bullets just keep going straight, and you're just like, why?
Oh. That would be some really ridiculous shots of a guy with a pistol halfway across the map killing someone. You know, just like,
yeah. I'm not sure. They're probably going to do damage drop off, which I hope they do, because if not, then they're going to be off the rocker. You know, if they don't do damage drop off, because imagine that, like being killed 200 meters away by a Thompson SMG. Although it will identify who are the hackers, I suppose.
Well, I like to see what mods come out for it or what kind of maps they make for it. So would be cool. Would be cool to see. I'm always been a fan of the Battlefield series since its inception from DICE, before DICE became a company. So like with the 1942s and the mods on top of that. So yeah, I'm just, for gameplay, it looks great. But I think the picking up someone else's gun and doing all that crap might screw up the class balance.
Well, you've been able to do that with the character kits. You know, like you see their body, you can pick up their kit and then you can use it. So, for example, the guy who's a medic, he's dead. You switch your class. You've been able to do that since actually for quite a while, if I remember rightly. They definitely did it in Battlefield 2, that's for sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Trying to remember that. I played Battlefield. Yeah, I don't remember it, unless that was like an earlier version I played online and then I just stopped playing and maybe they upgraded. I don't know. Sounds like a bad idea. I don't know why.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of always been there, but yeah, that trailer was just a menagerie of, if they just said like, you know, this is our interpretation of how players are going to treat Battlefield, like they're just going to go nuts with it. You know, it's like, yeah, that's what players are going to do. Players are going to be able to completely nuts with it, no matter what you try and do. It's like, yeah, it's going to be completely crazy. Cool with that, fine. But yeah, they went about it the wrong way, as EA always does. Unfortunately, it's like,
I guess it's good that EA is making the mistakes and not everyone else. So it allows the smaller companies to say, okay, we'll try that. Like same with Fortnite. With Fortnite came out, you thought, oh, it's never going to compete against PUBG, and it's like, nope, they did everything right the first time. And now PUBG is like, well, you stole from us. It's like, yeah, and so what? We're giving the better experience. Why don't you do that? So anyway, I think we've talked a lot. We're going to go through some of the questions you guys might have asked over the hour, just to see if I've missed anything. And if I missed anything, please jump in and get me. So anything about Devil May Cry, or it's not? Yeah, I talked about Devil May Cry. It was like a fun, silly, stupid, great action-packed game, as it always has been, and it's hammy as crap. The great
as
Elvis,
it's supposed to be,
as it should be, right? No multiplayer feature there, I hope. Walking simulator, death strolling, yeah, walking. I think Smudboy once indirectly mentioned his hatred from MGS2. Yes, I actually, when I was working back in the day for a year at Microplay, which is used to be a Canadian games retailer, I did not have a memory card for my PS2. They had on display, and I played through about 80 to 90% of MGS2. And I sat there and I could not believe what the hell was going on half the time, because the narrative just destroys itself. And there was no reason to have a reveal that was so stupid, as if, yeah, we made a giant simulation. We spent millions and millions of dollars, spent all this time and money and resources and manpower just to simulate the events of the first game to get combat data so our AI can absorb, or whatever bullshit. I don't even remember. It was just like this. That's when Hideo Kojima went too far. And it was as if he wanted Metal Gear to die. I think Metal Gear Solid, his first game, was that. He was happy with it. It was done. And they forced him to do a second one. And I think that's his sort of getting back at Konami. And he decided to just keep going. So he just played with it. Oh, they're giving me more money. Oh, I have to keep making more stupid games. And he went with that. And that became his life, which is kind of strange and sad. But people loved it. So who cares, right? Did you see Chris Avallone? Yes, I did. I wasn't even paying attention to E3 conference, and all of a sudden, my jaw was, I was like, why, what, who, why? Because Chris is the kind of guy you can chat to on Twitter, and he's so friendly. And I think he actually searches his name and likes everything that has his name on it, because I'll just mention his name without throwing in his Twitter name, so he gets notified. And he ends up. So I don't know how he does that, but it's I think either it's a bot that does it for him, or someone who has access. So yeah, but Chris is a cool guy, and he's probably my favorite guy in gaming these days. So my brain is too small. I think everyone's brain is too small for Hideo Kojima. So I don't think he knows what he's doing half the time. But it's so zany, it's so crazy, it's just nuts. I did not like Quantum Break. No, I think that's a universal acclaim of disliking it. Yes. I think everyone I talked to did not like it. It's just a buggy mess. What else? Questions. Looking for questions. British countryside has some pretty roads and lots of turns. I guess they do. Yeah, lots of countryside. That is true. So maybe it might work out.
Yeah, that's they're going for like racetracks or something like that, which I'm not really.
Forza, yeah, Forza is like city driving. Yeah,
is it? If it's city driving, then it is going to be parking lot simulator. But if they're going to go for the countryside, fair place to them. Like I said, there's a lot of good places. Actually, my area is pretty good for that.
All in the small towns and villages, I guess. Yeah, that might be nice.
Yeah, you got like some old biddy with a little, speed gun.
Speed. What was that? Why did Mike Pondsmith lie to us? Mike Pondsmith was the dude who, he's the Cyberpunk guy. Who is he? Board and video game designer. Yeah. I don't know. What did he say? I wish I knew what he said about the E3 reveal of Cyberpunk. So I don't know. Maybe it was his version of Cyberpunk that they used, and that interview he did a few years back was now being looked at. I'd have to look at that video and find out. So I will do that shortly. I'll get back on that question. Yeah, all the Japanese or Japan Creed games were all very well done. So who knows which is going to be the best. How far have you fallen to be interested in Division 2? I'm not saying I'm interested in Division 2. I'm interested in the trailer. And by proxy, I might be interested in the game enough to watch it.
Heretic.
Enough to watch a gameplay trailer of Division 2. That's as far as I'll take it. But if you watch the trailer, it is beautifully done. These guys know how to market. You have to give it its due. You have to give the marketing team its due. When all we get is trailers, back in the day from Mass Effect 2, you got to give BioWare, whoever they paid to do those trailers and to do that release schedule of.
That was Blur Studios who did the cinematic trailer.
Oh, that one. Well, yeah, you could tell they were cinematics when they had the renderings of Miranda and the Elusive Man. Yeah, that was very specific. The ones with Thane and Grunt. Yeah, exactly. You're right. But the marketing blitz of Mass Effect 2 was nuts. The 2 months leading up to the release.
It was like they even had like a show on Sci-Fi Channel, didn't they?
They had the interviews on Sci-Fi. They had the Super Bowl box seat streaming day. They had at least a video every other day for the past 3 weeks leading to the release. They had character reveals on the website. They went crazy. So you got to really understand how the hype train works and why it's done that way, and how successful. Well, I don't know about the sales being successful, but it was a successful game in terms of money made in making a franchise. So,
yeah, but yeah, it's just that what was it now? If they did that to Mass Effect 1, they would have sold probably an equal amount, really. You know, I know like Mass Effect 1's a very, very specific like thing, but you know, when you talk about marketing blitzes and things like that, yeah, they were, they really went off on that. But to me, sorry.
Oh, I just realized that someone gave me a donation. I do appreciate that. That was Lizard Viking, very long time subscriber of mine. I do remember seeing him over the years. Talking about Assassin's Creed, the biggest thing going for Assassin's Creed Odyssey is the Assassin's Creed part. I don't know. I don't think so. The Assassin's Creed has always been a weird frame in a narrative where you have this stupid world of some technology where you go into genetic history. It's always sounded bizarre. And was that in the previous game? Does anyone know?
Yeah, there was actually a device in the first game where you actually could. That was the whole premise of you actually going into the past. It's like you're the descendant of this particular
and you were looking for pieces of Eden and whatever that meant. But was that in the previous game, like the actual Assassin's Creed in Egypt, whatever that was called?
Oh, I don't know actually.
Yeah, I didn't see anything about that.
Yeah, because I think they might have actually dropped that. Now that I think back, they may have just dropped.
Brilliant, perfect.
So,
thank you. They just saved the franchise. Honestly, if they got rid of that bullshit with the frame narrative of being in the future and going back, thank God. They brought back the franchise. That's what had done it. Okay, let's keep going. Because honestly, I'm so happy they did that, because it was always going back in time, or at least seeing the world in medieval Renaissance Italy or whatever. Oh, okay. So apparently, Fallout 76 is not persistent. Okay, fine. I'm a little unhappy about that, but maybe my character won't die if it's not being played after the next month or two. Who knows? There's all these weird statements I don't know, because when we were talking, I'm like, what the hell? Guys, if you want to ask a question, highlight my name so I know what's going on. Let's see. What do we got here?
Are you flicking through, or are you looking at the recent ones?
Are you going to do a plot analysis of the Shark RPG game now shown in E3? What was the Shark RPG game? What is that? Does anyone know what the Shark RPG game was? E3. It's an RPG. I'll probably check it out. Maneater. Wow. You can play as a shark. That's okay. Yeah, I want to check that out. Holy crap. Upgrading teeth, upgrading dorsal fin,
Cosmetic item for Hammerhead unlocking.
Yeah. Well, if it was like EVO back in the day, that EVO RPG side scroller game, I might check that out. I will definitely pay attention to that. Thank you very much. Yeah, guys, if there's any RPGs out there that I didn't talk about or I don't know about that are small time, please tell me. Really want to know that. Am I excited about Cyberpunk? Yeah, I'd say so. I think that's pretty much my opinions. Like, yep, I love the Cyberpunk genre. This is CD Projekt Red. They're known for quality. Looks good.
Yeah, because in that trailer, I forgot to mention this, like the trailer was actually in-game stuff because people got very, very in-depth about, the and like the anti-aliasing on it, like the wires and things. It's like so it was actually it was in engine, obviously, but it was a cinematic, a cutscene. It's probably the best word to probably play it for it.
Nice.
And obviously you can play as, I think in one of the interviews I was listening to, was it Rock Paper Shotgun or Gamer Ranks or something, because you can pick a past and like kind of like how Commander Shepard would be able to pick a past, and obviously you can be male or female, which is like that fits in with the cyberpunk lore, because this is actually very contrary to the very first trailer, if you remember that one. It's very, I won't say opposite, but it's like one was very dark, and I almost thought like you were going to be like a detective at one point. That's what it was kind of screaming towards, because you had the cop that kind of looks like EMP'd that cybernetic woman, and then she's in the police car, and then she's like all policed up and things.
Yeah, it looks like a SWAT hit, and you're like, do you play this SWAT guy? And like, not necessarily, no.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. So I think that must have been one of the changes, because it looks like they're going for more of a corporate attitude rather than, let's say, you got like a state police. So because you had the heavily armed paramedics, because obviously in this world everything's all completely corporatized, all under corporate influence. So anyone who's like got any money, you've got like these paramedics that are pretty much like the combat search and rescue from the US Air Force guys. So if you've got someone who gets stolen, obviously like kidnapped or something, those guys go in there and they go and rescue the clientele. So it's obviously they go in there blowing shit up.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Shadowrun or the Shadowrunner, not just the genre, but it's its own thing now, but its own setting. Like it's just a wonderful setting to get lost in, and to put that into a GTA style environment, well, not necessarily GTA, but in that idea where everything's interactive, I think is a great idea. It's just a beautiful idea. And you need a big budget and a big time to put that working, get everything, all the moving parts working. That's hard to do. So yeah, I am excited.
Because they're going for verticality, aren't they, rather than like width, as it were. Like The Witch is like it's obviously in 3 or 4 separate areas, but the areas are quite larger than of themselves. But this one, they're going, no, you can go upwards, you can go into rooms.
Yep. They showed the gameplay from the closed set. They showed some of that, and the big problem, they did a poll on it on their on one of the fan boards or the official boards. Do you want a first person perspective? And everyone said no. We want third person. We want to see our character, and that's understandable, because if it's a one player, not a squad game like Dragon Age, you want to see your character. You want to see his gear. You want to see his components. And the same with Witcher 3. You wanted to see him on Roche. You wanted to see him fight. You had to, because that's how the game played. So it makes sense in that regard. So yeah, I think all this debate about what the people want, CD Projekt Red listens to, and that's what's great about those kinds of projects, is they actually just want to give you what you want. They have their own creative ideas, but if someone tells you this is not going to work, this is bad, they change it. There's lots of examples of that happening in the Witcher series. So, okay, more questions. Here's some actual questions with question marks. Do you think BioWare will live long enough to make Dragon Age 4? Actually, I do. Even if Anthem, I think Anthem will work as a financial goal, but whether it will do well or not is up in the air. And so their next game will have to be Dragon Age 4. And yes, I think they'll pull through, and I think Dragon Age 4 will be the death knell, or we'll bring it back if it doesn't work. So I think Dragon Age 4 is where it's going to make or break. I think Anthem is there's enough hype already, and depending on the subscription model, depending on how they make money through it, will fuel it enough to make Dragon Age 4. But they have to do something with Dragon Age, and they have to do something with Mass Effect. If Dragon Age fails, there's going to be no Mass Effect, and there might be no BioWare. So that's just my opinion based on the hype and based on the marketing and the popularity. Like, it's number one. Anthem was the number one video or announcement online, at least. So on that alone, that could push a production for years. But if they're releasing next year, yeah, they'll probably do fine. Did you think Cyberpunk 2077 looked generic as hell? Not necessarily. Do you think it would have been less so if they had kept the anime-inspired 80s style? That's a good question. Because when you're talking about the cyberpunk genre, and then you're comparing to Gibson and you're comparing to Blade Runner, you're looking at the 70s, what they were doing. Yes, it was very generic. And it has to have its own vibe. The same way you look at Shadowrunner or Shadowrun. Because it had magic, that was the vibe, despite being in this corporate espionage world where you're hacking into people and you're going into people's minds, and there's spirits and there's dragons running around. So that had its own feeling. With Cyberpunk, yeah, it really felt like GTA. It really did, with the wires and crap coming out of your head. So yeah, that's a slight concern. But when you're talking about punk, it could be anything. It could be anything you could put into the side of your head. You could put into your throat. The wire has to come into something. I think the car, that was a really big shout out to Knight Rider for me, and the 80s. So it still have the 80s cyberpunk vibe, but it's still a generic vibe, and that's the problem. And you really have to give it something more. So I don't think the vibe will come just through visuals. I think it will come through the narrative. I think it'll come through the colloquialisms, the nouns that people talk about. There'll be like some kind of drug they'll be talking about, like their aphorism for cool or hot, or something about the dialect. I think that will be the vibe. The language they use, and it's not saying they can't make a visual vibe, like the same way Vice City was an '80s vibe. Like that was still my favorite GTA is Vice City because of the 80s, because the 80s music, the 80s clothing, the cars, everything just felt 80s. So yeah, I think they should totally have a visual style, but it's not going to make or break it. I don't think it's going to hurt it in any way. Hot thoughts on Nioh 2. And it's Nioh is probably going to be it's probably going to be the better of the three, even though the guys from Dark Souls will make probably a better game. But in terms of production value, in terms of sales, I think Nioh 2 is going to do well, or very well, if not the best. But no, I've not played the first one. I just went through some walkthroughs that people made online on YouTube, and it looks very good. Any questions for me? What was your biggest surprise of E3? My biggest surprise, I think it was Chris Avallone just walking on the stage. I was like, why? No, what, where, who? And they're like, oh yeah, he's a freelancer. Okay. A toss up between Cyberpunk, because that was announced early, and well, there's a few other games I was like, I was about to say Fallout, but I was kind of expecting that if you're doing an online game. I was expecting the single player. Jeez, you know what? It wasn't a bad E3. Like the announcements weren't bad. People were saying, "Oh, there's not enough gameplay. There's not enough this or that." It was a good showing. Maybe Squaresoft was a bad surprise. The biggest bad surprise. Yeah, it's like, you could have done more. Okay, guys, I think that's everything. I'd love to keep rambling on, but I got stuff to do today, and it's a great, wonderful, beautiful, sunny weekend here in North America, or at least Toronto for me. And I know my good, delicious pie friend has to get back to his, well, whatever secret recipes he has in the oven. We don't know yet. Who knows what he's doing today? It could be creating a backyard fort a la Fallout 4, or playing more. What was that awesome game you like? You like to play that Love and Hate? What's that?
PlanetSide 2.
Yeah, PlanetSide 2. I used to play that game.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's That's a love-hate relationship, that one is. As you
That's
can
what
tell
it was.
by...
PlanetSide 2, PlanetSide 3. That'll be the next E3
Well, they are
announcement.
working on that, apparently.
Oh boy. Oh, the train
And
wreck.
they're also trying to reboot EverQuest Next as well. So EverQuest 3.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know how they're going to do that because they've got like no money. So because they just blew it all. So yeah.
Microsoft, what are you going to do with EverQuest? Who the hell knows?
It's not Microsoft, it's Daybreak.
What? They bought the friend? Oh geez, I didn't even know that.
Daybreak Games is owned by a investment company, Columbus Nova.
And they bought the license to EverQuest?
Yeah, basically, that was part of the package deal of everything that was under SOE is now under Daybreak Games. So whoever owns Daybreak Games, unless someone obviously wants to lease out the license to that.
Wow.
Which they can.
Jeez. Ah, EverQuest. All these games coming back. Everything new is old again. Or everything old. Everything new is old again. It's a good. I like that one better. Okay, guys. Thanks very much for listening. We'll talk to you later.